Seokjin's hands trembled slightly as the massive view screen flickered to life. Years of NASA training, countless simulations, decades of searching, nothing prepared him for this moment. The alien ship wasn't what anyone expected. No sharp metallic edges, no intimidating weaponry. It looked almost organic, like a massive silver jellyfish drifting through infinite darkness. Smooth, elegant, alive. Mission Control held its collective breath. Decades of sending radio signals into the cosmic void, hoping someone might listen, had finally paid off. "Incoming transmission," whispered Jinhee, the communication specialist. Her fingers danced across holographic interfaces, translating unknown frequencies into something comprehensible. The first words weren't complex scientific dialogue. They were simple, peaceful. "We have watched. We understand. We come in friendship." Humanity had imagined first contact 1,000 different ways. Violent invasions, technological challenges, diplomatic tensions. Nobody predicted this. A gentle, almost curious approach. Seokjin remembered his grandfather's stories about survival, about hope. How generations of humans had looked to the stars, dreaming of something beyond their small blue planet. The Valerian ship moved with impossible grace. Each movement suggested intelligence far beyond human comprehension. No jerky mechanical motions, just smooth, intentional navigation that spoke of advanced understanding. Communication wasn't instantaneous. It took weeks of careful translation, of understanding each other's fundamental communication structures. But something magical happened during those weeks. Humans discovered the Valerians weren't just technologically advanced. They were philosophically profound. They didn't see exploration as conquest. They saw it as understanding, learning, growing. The initial transmission carried more than words. It carried entire philosophical frameworks, complex emotional landscapes that human linguists struggled to translate. "We recognize your potential," one transmission read. "Not as a species to be evaluated, but as cosmic partners waiting to understand each other." Seokjin watched as scientists, military personnel, and diplomats worked together. No competition, no territorial tensions, just pure collective excitement about the unknown. The Valerian ship didn't approach Earth directly. They established communication from a respectful distance, understanding human psychology better than humans understood themselves. Each transmission carried layers of meaning: scientific data, cultural insights, philosophical perspectives. It was like receiving an entire civilization's knowledge in carefully crafted messages. Jinhee's translation team worked around the clock. They weren't just translating language. They were building bridges between two entirely different cosmic perspectives. "They're studying us," one researcher noted, "but not like we're specimens, more like potential friends." The first visual transmission showed beings that looked both familiar and completely alien. Translucent skin that seemed to shimmer with internal light. Movement that suggested thought and emotion were interconnected in ways humans were only beginning to understand. Seokjin realized something profound was happening. This wasn't just first contact. This was the beginning of humanity's greatest adventure. The universe had been waiting. And now, finally, we were ready to listen. The conference room hummed with an electric anticipation. Seokjin watched as Jiwoo spread out the holographic maps, each projection showing intricate details of potential collaboration between humans and Valerians. Their first meetings weren't about treaties or technological exchanges. They were conversations about understanding each other's souls. The Valerian ambassador, a being with translucent skin that seemed to shimmer with internal light, explained their society's core principle. "We believe in collective growth," he said, his voice resonating like soft wind through crystal chambers. Jiwoo leaned forward, fascinated. Humans had always been competitive, driven by individual achievements. The Valerians saw the world differently. For them, one person's success meant everyone's progress. "Imagine a society," the ambassador continued, "where your personal achievements are measured by how much you lift others around you." Seokjin remembered his grandmother's stories about Korean community values, how villages would come together during harvest, how neighbors helped each other without expecting anything in return. The Valerian philosophy wasn't alien. It was deeply familiar. Trade discussions became storytelling sessions. The Valerians shared tales of cosmic migrations, of civilizations that rose and fell across millennia. Humans shared stories of survival, of pushing boundaries, of hope against impossible odds. Their technological exchange was unlike anything diplomatic history had witnessed. The Valerians didn't just share blueprints, they shared understanding. Their advanced shield technologies came with detailed explanations of the philosophical principles behind their development. Protection isn't just about blocking attacks, one Valerian engineer explained. It's about creating environments where attacks become unnecessary. Jiwoo's team worked tirelessly, decoding not just languages but entire cultural frameworks. They discovered the Valerians had no concept of war as humans understood it. Conflict for them was a problem to be solved through communication and mutual understanding. The human military strategists were initially skeptical. Decades of Earth's geopolitical tensions had taught them to be cautious. But as conversations continued, they realized the Valerians offered something revolutionary, a path to resolving conflicts without destruction. Seokjin watched military commanders, who had spent careers preparing for potential conflicts, now sitting in deep, philosophical discussions about peaceful coexistence. One particular session became legendary. A veteran commander known for his tough approach suddenly laughed during a discussion about conflict resolution. "We've been preparing to fight," he said, "when we should have been learning to understand." The Valerians shared advanced meditation, techniques that helped humans process complex emotional and strategic scenarios. These weren't just relaxation methods, they were sophisticated mental frameworks for solving intricate problems. Technological exchanges became cultural exchanges. Each shared blueprint carried stories. Each communication protocol represented years of philosophical development. When they discussed potential joint missions, it wasn't about conquering new territories. It was about exploration, about expanding collective knowledge, about understanding the universe's mysterious fabric. "Humans are unique," the Valerian ambassador often said. "You feel with an intensity that most species cannot comprehend. Your capacity for both destruction and healing is remarkable." The bond grew stronger with each passing week. What started as a diplomatic mission transformed into a genuine friendship between two species separated by light years, but connected by something far more profound. Seokjin realized they weren't just building an alliance. They were creating a new model of interstellar relationships, one based on genuine understanding, mutual respect, and a shared vision of collective progress. As star charts were redrawn and communication protocols established, something magical happened. Humans and Valerians weren't just allies. They were becoming family. The universe watched, witnessing a relationship that would change everything. The research station orbited a distant star, a beacon of human-Valerian cooperation. Nobody expected the silence that would shatter their peaceful exploration. Hyungwoo's radar pinged unexpectedly. Something massive was approaching, something that didn't match any known galactic signatures. His training kicked in immediately. Years of space defense protocols condensed into split-second decisions. The Corral ships emerged from quantum shadows like predatory insects, massive, silent, deadly. Their hull design spoke of pure military efficiency, no elegance, no consideration, beyond destruction. "Incoming attack," Hyungwoo whispered into the communication channel. His voice was calm, calculated. Years of military training had prepared him for moments like these. The first wave struck with mathematical precision. Energy, weapons that could slice through standard planetary shields like paper. The research station's defenses, a joint human-Valerian design, flickered momentarily. 237 researchers, humans and Valerians working side by side, suddenly faced potential extinction. But they weren't helpless, and they certainly weren't alone. The Valerian communication network activated instantly. Complex neural links transmitted threat assessments faster than light. Each researcher became a potential defender, each system a potential weapon. Youngwoo watched the initial attack with professional detachment. The Corral believed overwhelming force guaranteed victory. They didn't understand the bond between humans and Valerians. "Defensive formation, Alpha," he commanded. His team moved like a single organism, each member understanding their precise role. Quantum communication channels lit up. The Valerians weren't just sharing tactical information, they were sharing emotional support. Fear transformed into collective determination. The Corral expected a traditional military response. They received something entirely different. Instead of direct confrontation, the human Valerian team began systematically disrupting the attackers' systems. Not through brute force, but through intelligent, adaptive strategies that confused and destabilized the Corral's offensive capabilities. Computer systems became battlegrounds. Coding was weaponized. Each line of programming a potential shield, each algorithm a potential counterattack. Hyungwoo's team didn't just defend. They began to understand the Corral's attack patterns, predicting movements before they happened. The Valerian neural networks provided insights beyond traditional human strategic thinking. 1 hour into the attack, the Corral realized they had miscalculated. This wasn't a simple research station. This was a statement about interstellar cooperation. The researchers weren't just scientists. They were the first line of a new kind of cosmic defense. "We are not alone," Hyungwoo transmitted. Those 5 words carried more weight than entire military manifestos. As sudden as they arrived, the Corral began retreating. They hadn't expected a unified response. They hadn't understood that humanity and the Valerians had become something more than allies. They had become family. When the last Corral ship disappeared, the research station remained, damaged but unbroken, a testament to what happens when different species decide to stand together. Youngwoo looked at his team. Humans, Valerians, breathing, alive, united. The universe had just learned an important lesson. Threaten one, you threaten all. And some threats would not be taken lightly. The war room buzzed with silent intensity. Screens flickered with real-time galactic maps, each point of light representing potential strategic targets. Youngwoo stood at the center, a holographic display rotating slowly around him. This wasn't about revenge. This was about sending a message. The Valerian advisors had shared something crucial. Absolute destruction was never the goal. Precision, targeted response. These were the weapons of true intelligence. "We dismantle their infrastructure," Hyungwoo explained to his team, "not their civilization." Each member understood the unspoken rule. No civilian casualties, no unnecessary destruction. Every action calculated with surgical precision. The first wave of counterattack began not with weapons, but with advanced computer systems. Quantum networks infiltrated Corral communication channels. Their military grid started collapsing from within. Communication, lines going dark, navigation systems flickering out. Satellite networks became ghost zones. Military communication towers transformed into silent monuments. Supply lines collapsed without a single explosive fired. It was like watching a complex machine slowly lose its power. No drama, no unnecessary violence, just systematic, intelligent dismantling. The Valerian technology provided something extraordinary, the ability to target specific systems with microscopic accuracy. Human strategic thinking added the human touch, understanding the psychological impact of each disruption. Hyungwoo's team worked like a well-orchestrated symphony. Each member knew their role, each movement precisely calculated. Intelligence gathering revealed something interesting. The Corral weren't a unified civilization. They were a collection of military-driven territories held together by fear and aggressive expansion. By targeting their infrastructure, they were revealing the fragility of their entire system. Communication systems went first, then transportation networks, then military supply chains. Each system fell without explosions, without traditional warfare. The galaxy watched in stunned silence. This wasn't destruction. This was a surgical response that demonstrated something profound. The ability to defend without becoming the very thing you're fighting against. Youngwoo remembered his grandfather's teachings about restraint, about understanding that true strength wasn't about how much damage you could cause, but how precisely you could respond. Valerian neural networks provided real-time tactical assessments. Human strategic thinking added emotional intelligence. Together, they created something unprecedented. Every Corral military installation became a puzzle to be solved, not a target to be destroyed. Advanced algorithms found weaknesses. Precise interventions created maximum impact with minimal disruption. 3 days into the operation, the Corral leadership realized something terrifying. They weren't facing a traditional enemy. They were facing a new form of cosmic diplomacy. Defense, through intelligent intervention, protection through understanding, resistance through precision. When the operation concluded, no widespread destruction marked the battlefield. Just silent, systematic dismantling of a system built on aggression. Key message was clear. Threaten our allies and we will respond, not with mindless destruction, but with intelligent, calculated precision. Hyungwoo looked at the final report. Perfect, precise, powerful. The universe had just learned an important lesson about human-Valerian cooperation. Some alliances are stronger than weapons, some responses more powerful than destruction. The Galactic Council chamber fell silent. Hundreds of species watched, their collective breath suspended in anticipation. Jiwoo stepped forward. She wasn't just a diplomat. She was a messenger, a representative of something far greater than any single civilization. Her presentation wasn't about military might or technological superiority. It was about a simple, powerful concept: respect. We did not seek destruction, she began, her voice calm and clear. We sought understanding. The holographic displays behind her showed the precise, calculated response to the Corral attack. No civilian casualties, no unnecessary violence, just a surgical intervention that dismantled a system built on aggression. Delegates from across the galaxy leaned forward. This was unprecedented, a response that demonstrated strength through intelligence, not brutality. The Valerian ambassador stood beside her, a silent but powerful presence. Their bond was visible, not just an alliance, but a genuine connection that transcended species boundaries. Jiwoo shared detailed records, how the human Valerian team had systematically disrupted Corral infrastructure without widespread destruction, how they had targeted specific systems that supported military aggression while protecting civilian populations. We are not conquerors, she explained. We are protectors. Each slide told a story, of research stations saved, of communication networks preserved, of a response so precise that it spoke louder than any weapon could. The older delegates recognized something extraordinary. This wasn't just a military response. This was a new model of interstellar diplomacy. Whispers spread through the chamber. Some species looked nervous. Others looked inspired. The message was clear. Harm our allies and you'll face consequences beyond traditional warfare. But those consequences weren't about destruction. They were about intelligent, calculated intervention. Jiwoo remembered the conversations with Valerian scholars, how they viewed conflict not as something to be won but as a problem to be solved, how every challenge was an opportunity for understanding. The presentation concluded with a simple statement that would echo through galactic history: protect, understand, evolve. No threats, no posturing, just a clear demonstration of what happens when different species decide to stand together. The Corral delegation sat in stunned silence. They had expected retaliation. They received something far more powerful, a lesson in cosmic cooperation. As the council proceedings continued, something shifted in the galactic consciousness. Species began to see alliances differently, not as military contracts, but as genuine connections. Jiwoo looked at the Valerian ambassador. A slight nod passed between them. They had done more than defend a research station. They had changed how the universe understood cooperation. Outside the council chambers, stars continued their ancient dance. Countless civilizations watched and learned. Some messages are sent with weapons. The most powerful messages are sent with understanding. Humanity and the Valerians had just written a new chapter in cosmic diplomacy. A chapter about protection, about unity, about something greater than any single species.